Alien prisoners braced for punishment. What happened next shook them. The large holding chamber of the prison orbited a dim, cold star far from any inhabited planet. Aliens of many shapes and sizes crowded the space. Their bodies shimmered with strange colors, some with scales, some with soft skin, some with multiple limbs that twitched nervously. They whispered among themselves, their voices mixing in a chaotic symphony of fear and curiosity. For the first time in centuries, they faced humans, not as distant explorers or soldiers, but as their wardens. The aliens had heard stories, terrifying tales from their ancestors about humans. They were supposed to be cruel, ruthless, and unpredictable. Now here they were, trapped in a metal chamber in orbit, waiting for the humans to decide their fate. Most of the prisoners avoided looking at the humans who walked among them. Humans moved with calm, deliberate steps. They carried no visible weapons, no restraints, nothing to signal force or punishment. A few aliens laughed nervously, trying to break the tension, but their voices cracked under the pressure. Every eye was on the central door as it slid open smoothly, revealing a human man walking in with a tablet in his hand. He did not look fierce. He did not roar or shout. He walked with an unusual confidence, like he belonged there. His name was Eli Sanders, and he stopped at the center of the chamber. His eyes scanned the aliens calmly, as if he were studying a puzzle. There was no anger, no threat, no expression of fear. Instead, he simply lifted his hand in greeting. A ripple of confusion went through the room. The aliens had been prepared for punishment, for yelling, for commands. They had not been prepared for this. "Greetings," Eli said in a measured voice. His tone was firm but not harsh. "You are here because of mistakes. Every one of you has a story, and every story matters. We are not here to hurt you, but to understand you." The aliens froze. Some twitched nervously, others whispered in their strange languages, trying to make sense of what they had heard. A small, blue-scaled alien with 3 eyes tilted its head and hissed. "Understand? What do you mean? Punish us." Eli smiled slightly, almost like a teacher trying to calm a frightened student. "Punishment is not the only path. Correction, learning, understanding, these are the ways we value." His gaze swept the chamber. "We will learn from each other, and in that everyone survives, even you." Murmurs filled the room. Aliens exchanged glances. This was not what they had expected. None of their ancestors had spoken of humans this way. Humans were known as survivors, yes, but also as destroyers, conquerors, warriors who left planets in ruin. And yet here stood a human, calm and unarmed, speaking about understanding rather than punishment. A female human entered the chamber, walking beside Eli. Her name was Mara Linton. She had sharp eyes that seemed to notice every detail, every nervous flicker of an alien limb, every anxious breath. She carried a small tablet, much like Eli, but she moved differently. While Eli commanded with calm authority, Mara commanded with quiet observation. She watched, noted, and spoke only when necessary, letting the aliens reveal their true selves in their reactions. The chamber was still tense. The aliens did not know what to do. Some crouched low as if ready to flee. Others stood tall, trying to appear brave, though their tails twitched and their ears flattened. Eli raised his hand again. "We will begin with questions," he said. "Not to punish, not to judge, but to understand. Tell me about your lives, your experiences, and your mistakes." The aliens looked at each other. One of them, a creature with long, silver antennae, hissed, "You are testing us. There must be a trap." "There is no trap," Mara said, stepping forward. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. "We only want knowledge. If we understand each other, we can build something better. Do you want that?" Some aliens muttered among themselves, hesitant to respond. Others were suspicious. One of the larger aliens, green and bipedal with sharp claws tucked under its sleeves, stepped forward. Why would a human care to understand us? Why would you spare us?" Eli's expression did not change. "Because understanding prevents destruction. Because strength is not only in force, but in knowledge. And because all life deserves a chance to grow." The alien considered this. Its 3 eyes blinked slowly. Something in the human words did not feel like a lie. Humans were mysterious, yes, but there was no fear, no threat. They were calm, collected, confident in a way that made the alien hesitate. The alien's ancestors would never have believed such words from a human. Slowly, the aliens began to answer. One by one, they told stories, not all pleasant, not all heroic. Some were small mistakes, accidents, errors of judgment. Others were more serious, yet the humans listened without interruption, without judgment, without raising a hand or voice. Mara wrote notes, her face thoughtful, occasionally glancing at Eli to see his reaction. As the day passed, the chamber shifted. The initial tension began to change into a strange mixture of confusion and cautious curiosity. The aliens were no longer just afraid, they were intrigued. Humans who were supposed to punish them were instead listening. They were observing. They were treating the aliens as if their thoughts and mistakes mattered. Later, the humans introduced small tasks, not punishment, but activities that required cooperation and thinking. One task involved reorganizing a storage unit with complex alien technology. Another involved solving puzzles related to the prison's environmental systems. The aliens were reluctant at first, expecting traps or punishments hidden in the challenges. But Eli and Mara guided them gently, showing patience and understanding rather than force. Slowly, the aliens realized something astonishing. These humans did not operate on fear. They did not seek dominance. They valued intelligence, creativity, and honesty. Some of the more stubborn aliens tried to resist, thinking it was a trick. They complained, grumbled, and questioned every instruction, and yet the humans did not scold them. They explained, demonstrated, and waited patiently. By the end of the first cycle of tasks, a few aliens actually began to cooperate. They shared ideas, experimented, and even laughed quietly when a solution failed. The humans did not mock them. They praised effort, celebrated small victories, and offered guidance when needed. The aliens had never experienced this before. In every other encounter with humans, fear, aggression, and dominance were expected. Now there was calm, patience, and respect. As night fell on the prison station, the chamber lights dimmed. Aliens rested on small platforms, still uneasy but not as fearful. They whispered to each other, questioning their long-held beliefs. Could humans truly be this different? Could a species so feared across galaxies operate without violence? Eli walked among the resting aliens, observing quietly. Mara followed, noting small changes in behavior, slight gestures of curiosity or understanding. The humans were patient, knowing the aliens' fear would take time to dissolve. They did not need immediate obedience. They only needed the aliens to begin seeing humans as something beyond their stories, beyond their assumptions. One small, nervous alien approached Eli. Its skin shimmered faintly in the dim light. "Are you real?" it asked softly. "Are humans really like this, or is this some trap?" Eli knelt slightly, meeting its gaze. "We are real, we are humans, and yes, we are like this. Not all humans are perfect, but we believe in understanding and trust. We value life even when it is not ours." The alien blinked slowly, trying to comprehend. Its ancestors had always taught them to fear humans, to assume humans were dangerous and unpredictable. Yet here was a human, calm and gentle, offering respect and understanding instead of punishment. The alien felt something it had never felt before, curiosity, even hope. By the time the first night cycle ended, a quiet shift had occurred. The aliens still feared humans in some way, as any prisoner fears the unknown, but the edge of terror had softened. Humans were no longer monsters in their imagination. They were something else entirely. Unpredictable, yes, but in a way that sparked awe and wonder rather than immediate panic. In the observation deck above the chamber, Mara and Eli reviewed their notes. "They are responding," Mara said softly. "Slowly, but they are beginning to see humans differently." Eli nodded. "This is only the beginning. Fear is strong, but curiosity is stronger. Once they start understanding humans, they will question everything they thought they knew." Outside the prison, the stars stretched endlessly. The aliens' ship had once been a vessel of fear and dominance, and now it floated silently, held not by force, but by trust in a species they barely understood. Somewhere in the galaxy, civilizations whispered stories of humans' unpredictability. No one knew it yet, but those whispers were beginning to change. For the first time, the alien prisoners slept not with terror in their minds, but with a strange, unfamiliar thought. Humans were not what we feared. They might be something far more powerful than we imagined. The next day, the alien prisoners woke to a new routine. The humans had arranged the chamber differently, adding small stations where the aliens could work, learn, or experiment. It was not punishment, it was an invitation. Some aliens eyed the stations with suspicion, unsure what the humans expected of them. They remembered the stories of human cruelty, the tales passed down for generations. And yet there was no threat, no hidden chains, no weapons. Only humans calmly guiding them, showing them how to interact with the technology and systems in the station. Eli Sanders walked among the aliens, observing their hesitation. "Start with curiosity," he said. "Ask questions, try, do not worry about mistakes." His voice was steady, patient. The aliens blinked, glanced at each other, and then slowly, cautiously approached the stations. Mara Linton moved between them, offering guidance when needed. A small alien with 6 legs and bright yellow skin tilted its head toward her. "Why are you helping us? Other humans, they would have destroyed us long ago." Mara smiled gently. "Because we believe in understanding. We believe in learning from mistakes. Strength is not just force, it is knowledge and patience. If you understand each other, the universe becomes safer." The alien studied her. Its 3 eyes blinked in thought. It had never heard such words from a human before. "You do not seek to punish, you trust us." "Trust is the first step," Eli added. "Not blind trust, but trust that people can learn, trust that life is valuable." Slowly, the aliens began to participate. They examined the technology around them, shared ideas, and even debated solutions among themselves. Humans listened, asked questions, and guided them gently. It was strange for the aliens, who had only ever known punishment or forced labor when interacting with humans. Here, humans were partners, not masters. Some aliens still resisted. A tall, armored species crossed its arms, refusing to engage. "Why should we work? What do we gain?" it demanded. "You gain understanding," Eli said calmly. "You gain knowledge. You gain the chance to see a new way of living. That is more valuable than fear." The alien stared, uncertain. It had been raised in a world where humans were monsters, where survival depended on hiding or fighting. And yet it could not ignore the patience and calm in the human's eyes. Slowly, it approached a station, testing one of the devices with careful, measured movements. When it succeeded, Eli nodded in approval. Mara clapped softly, praising the effort. By the afternoon, the chamber was buzzing with quiet activity. Aliens were discussing the puzzles, sharing observations, and experimenting with the technology. Some laughed quietly when their ideas failed, and humans laughed with them, not at them. The aliens were confused. Laughter without mockery was a new experience. It made them feel safe in a way they had never known. Eli noticed the change. "See," he said quietly to Mara. "They are learning already, not just about technology, but about us, about humans." Mara nodded. "It is slow. But curiosity is stronger than fear when it is nurtured." Later, a group of aliens was called to a larger simulation area. It looked like a control room, filled with holographic displays of stars, planets, and ships. The humans explained that it was a challenge in strategy and planning. The aliens' task was to manage a supply system for multiple colonies without causing collapse or chaos. They were hesitant, unsure what humans wanted. "Do not think of it as a test," Eli said. "Think of it as a puzzle. See what works, see what fails, learn together." The aliens exchanged glances. For the first time, they were not being threatened. They were being invited to solve a problem. Slowly, they began to work together, each offering ideas. Some suggested solutions the humans had not thought of, using their own species' knowledge in unique ways. Humans listened, adjusted guidance, and incorporated alien ideas. The chamber became a hive of quiet activity, with discussion, debate, and collaboration. By the end of the exercise, a system that would have collapsed under alien mismanagement was running smoothly. The aliens looked at each other in astonishment. "It worked," one whispered. We actually did it." Eli smiled. "Of course it worked. You are capable. We only needed to show you a path." For many aliens, this was a revelation. Humans were not just strong, they were clever, patient, and capable of seeing potential where others saw only mistakes. The aliens had underestimated them for centuries. And now, that understanding began to sink in. The day continued with more activities designed to encourage cooperation. Aliens learned to repair small machines, organize energy flow, and even manage communication systems between different sections of the station. They still moved cautiously, aware that humans were powerful and unpredictable. But their fear began to transform into curiosity and even a faint admiration. One small, timid alien approached Mara during a break. Its skin shimmered like glass and its voice was soft. "Why do you treat us this way? Why do you not punish us for our mistakes?" Mara crouched to its level. "Because punishment alone does not teach. Understanding teaches. You will grow stronger and wiser if you are allowed to think, experiment, and learn." That is how humans survive, how humans thrive. We value life, even life that is not ours. The alien considered her words. Its species had been raised in fear of humans, told stories of brutal retribution. Yet here, these humans did not act from fear or anger. They acted from patience and intelligence. Slowly, a small spark of trust began to form. By the evening, the chamber had transformed from a place of tension to a place of quiet activity. Aliens who had refused to participate in the morning were now curious, watching others, tentatively trying small tasks themselves. Some laughed when mistakes happened. Some whispered about how strange and different humans were. Eli and Mara walked among them, observing. "They are starting to see us as something other than monsters," Mara said. Eli nodded. "Not all yet, but enough to begin questioning old beliefs. That is progress." That night, as the aliens rested, quiet murmurs filled the chamber. Some discussed the day's activities, comparing their expectations with reality. Others thought about the humans themselves, wondering how a species so feared across the galaxy could be so patient, so clever, so calm. Even the most stubborn aliens had to admit silently that humans were unlike anything they had imagined. They had expected punishment, cruelty, and chaos. Instead, they had found guidance, respect, and challenge. The humans did not dominate with fear, they led with intelligence. Outside the chamber, the stars stretched endlessly. The aliens' homeworlds were far away, and their histories were filled with stories of human brutality. And yet, here in this distant orbit, they were learning a new truth. Humans were not what they had feared. Humans were something else entirely, unpredictable, clever, and inspiring. Eli and Mara reviewed the day's progress quietly in the observation deck. "They are responding," Mara said. "Slowly, but they are learning. Curiosity is stronger than fear, and they are beginning to see it." Eli nodded. "Tomorrow will be harder. We will introduce more challenges, but nothing that breaks them, only enough to push them to think, to learn, and to cooperate. That is the human way." In the quiet of the station, the alien prisoners slept fitfully, still wary but not as fearful. Their minds were filled with new questions. Why were humans different? How could they act with calm instead of violence? Could a species so underestimated truly be a force in the galaxy? For the first time, some of the aliens began to hope. Not hope of escape, not hope of survival through fear, but hope of learning, understanding, and maybe, one day, seeing humans for what they truly were. And in the silent hum of the prison station, humans walked among them, calm, patient, and watchful, planting seeds of understanding that would change everything. By the end of the second day, the aliens realized something startling. Humans were not their enemies, and humans were not to be feared in the way they had always imagined. Humans were something new, something unexpected, something that might one day reshape everything the galaxy believed about them. The morning air in the prison station felt different. The aliens had started to grow accustomed to the humans' calm presence, but a quiet tension still lingered. Today, Eli Sanders and Mara Linton had prepared a new exercise, something the aliens had never seen before. It was not punishment, nor was it a simple task. It was a challenge, one that would test their ability to work together and think under pressure. The aliens gathered in the central chamber. Their limbs twitched nervously, their voices low with murmurs. Some of them had already begun to trust humans, while others remained wary, convinced this was another trick. They remembered the old stories of human cruelty, of traps hidden behind smiles, of power used without warning. And yet they could not ignore the subtle calm in Eli's eyes, the quiet patience in Mara's voice. Eli stood at the front. "Today," he began, "you will face a problem that affects all of us. It will require cooperation, planning, and careful thinking. If we fail, everyone suffers. If we succeed, everyone learns. Humans are not here to punish you, but to guide you." The aliens exchanged glances. Some whispered to each other, trying to decide whether to trust the words or to prepare for disaster. A large, armored alien tapped its claws against the floor. "What kind of problem?" it asked. Eli gestured toward a large holographic display. Stars, planets, and ships rotated slowly in the air. "A critical system in this station has malfunctioned. If it is not repaired quickly, it could shut down essential power and life support in multiple sections. You will work together with us to fix it. Each of you has a role. Each of you has skills we need." Murmurs of shock and fear spread among the aliens. Their bodies stiffened. They had expected punishment, yes, but this, responsibility, trust, They had been prisoners for so long that the idea of being relied upon rather than threatened was almost terrifying. "Why should we help?" a silver-skinned alien asked, its antennae quivering. "Why would humans give us a chance?" "Because you can," Mara said quietly. "Because your species is clever and resourceful, because fear alone does not solve problems. Cooperation does, intelligence does, that is why humans survive." The aliens looked at each other. Some hesitated, unsure whether to act. Some were frozen by fear. And then the first signals of the problem appeared on the display. Sections of the station blinked red, indicating failing systems. Life support, energy distribution, and communication were all in danger of collapse. Eli gestured for a group of aliens to approach the control panels. "Work with us. Follow the instructions. Offer your ideas. There is no punishment here, only guidance." At first, the aliens froze. They were not used to being asked to contribute, only to be forced. But Mara spoke gently, pointing to a minor energy panel. "Try adjusting this first. See what happens." A small alien, yellow-skinned with 6 legs, approached. It hesitated, then pressed a series of buttons. The lights on the panel flickered, then stabilized slightly. The alien looked at Mara in surprise. It worked." "It did," Mara said calmly. "You see, thinking carefully and trying solutions works better than fear." Encouraged, other aliens began to step forward. A group of 3 started examining a communication array. They whispered to each other, debating the best course of action. Humans listened, occasionally offering suggestions or corrections, but allowing the aliens to experiment. The station seemed tense at first, but slowly the chamber filled with a quiet hum of activity. Aliens shared ideas, corrected mistakes, and celebrated small successes. Mara smiled at Eli. "They are starting to understand, even in the middle of fear." Eli nodded. "They are. And soon they will see humans as more than survivors. They will see humans as teachers, guides, and partners." As the hours passed, the aliens became more confident. They began to suggest solutions humans had not considered, using knowledge unique to their species. A long-limbed alien suggested a way to redirect energy flows more efficiently. A small, nimble alien discovered a flaw in the cooling system. Humans listened, incorporated their ideas, and worked alongside them. For the first time, the aliens felt something they had never experienced: respect. Humans were not using fear to control them. Humans were not mocking their mistakes. Humans were working with them as equals, teaching without domination, guiding without threats. Suddenly, a critical warning appeared on the display. A core section of the station was overheating. Alarms echoed softly, and the aliens froze. Some whispered that this must be a trap, that humans were setting them up to fail. Eli spoke calmly, his voice cutting through the tension. "Do not panic. Follow the instructions. Work together. This is what we are capable of when we unite intelligence and careful thought." The aliens looked at each other. Hesitation was still there, but the humans' calm confidence was stronger. Slowly, they began to act. The yellow 6-legged alien pressed a sequence of commands, stabilizing part of the system. Another alien rerouted energy flow according to the plan discussed earlier. Humans guided, suggested, and monitored, but they did not take control. The problem was not solved immediately. Mistakes were made, systems blinked red, and the aliens worried. But each time a failure occurred, the humans encouraged them to try again, to think differently, to learn from errors. Slowly, the energy levels began to stabilize. By late afternoon, the critical core was secure. Life support was fully operational, communication restored, and the station's systems were running smoothly. The aliens could hardly believe it. They had faced a real threat to their survival, and together with humans, they had fixed it. Some of the prisoners looked at Eli and Mara in astonishment. You trusted us?" asked the silver-skinned alien with antennae. "Yes," Eli said. "We trusted your intelligence, your creativity, your willingness to think. That is what humans value, not fear, not punishment. Knowledge and cooperation." For many of the aliens, this was a revelation. Humans were clever and strong, yes, but more than that, humans inspired others to act, to learn, to solve problems together. They were not monsters. They were teachers, guides, and leaders. And they did not demand fear. They earned respect through action and patience. The aliens began to discuss what had happened. Some laughed quietly at their earlier fears. Others whispered about how different humans were from the stories their ancestors had told. "We expected cruelty," one muttered. "We expected punishment, but humans are something else." Eli walked among them, observing quietly. Mara followed, taking notes on alien behavior, responses, and growth. "They are changing," Mara said. "Slowly, but they are beginning to see humans as more than stories, more than legends of fear." Eli nodded. "Yes, and once they understand, they will not forget. Fear is powerful, but understanding is stronger. Cooperation, respect, guidance, those are the ways humans thrive." The rest of the day passed with smaller exercises, reinforcing the lessons learned. Aliens repaired minor systems, organized storage modules, and participated in communication drills. Every success, every small discovery built confidence. Humans offered guidance without taking control, patience without judgment. By nightfall, the chamber was quieter. Aliens rested on platforms, not with fear, but with a new awareness. They had survived a real challenge, not through hiding or fleeing, but by working with humans. For the first time, they felt capable, competent, and respected. Some of the aliens whispered among themselves, questioning their history and assumptions. Could humans truly be this patient, clever, and calm? Could a species so underestimated across the galaxy operate without cruelty or domination? The answers surprised them. Eli and Mara watched quietly from the observation deck. "They are learning faster than I expected," Mara said. Eli smiled. "They are not just learning about the station. They are learning about humans. That is the most important lesson. Once they see what humans value, intelligence, patience, cooperation, they will understand why humans survive, why humans endure, why humans are not to be underestimated." In the quiet of the prison station, the alien prisoners slept with their minds buzzing. Not with terror, not with fear of punishment, but with curiosity, hope, and wonder. They had faced a challenge that would have broken many species, yet humans had guided them to success. Humans had trusted them. Humans had taught them. And for the first time, some of the aliens thought, perhaps humans were more than stories, more than myths. Perhaps humans were a force in the galaxy that could not be ignored. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly. The prison station floated silently in orbit, a place once meant for fear and punishment. Now it was a place of learning, understanding, and quiet respect. And humans walked among the aliens, patient, calm, and watchful, planting seeds that would change not just the prisoners, but the galaxy's perception of humanity itself. By the end of the third day, the aliens had experienced something they never imagined. Humans were clever, patient, and inspiring. They did not command with fear. They did not punish with cruelty. They taught, guided, and trusted, and in doing so, they reshaped the minds of every alien in the chamber. For the first time in generations, the alien prisoners felt something powerful, the beginning of respect for a species they had once feared beyond measure. And they wondered quietly, almost in awe, what humans might do next. The morning light of the station glimmered softly through the observation windows, casting long shadows across the chamber where the aliens had started to feel a strange sense of purpose. After the challenge of the energy core, they no longer saw humans simply as wardens or punishers. The fear that had dominated their thoughts was fading, replaced by curiosity and even admiration. Every alien moved with a cautious energy, testing their ideas, sharing opinions, and watching the humans carefully. Eli Sanders walked among them, his gaze calm and steady. He observed the smallest gestures, how a tentacle twitched in hesitation, how an eye blinked rapidly when a problem arose, how a small winged alien tilted its head in thought. Mara Linton followed closely, jotting notes on her tablet, noting how quickly the aliens were adapting to a new way of learning and working together. "Today," Eli began, addressing the chamber, "we will explore more than technology. We will explore strategy, communication, and creativity. Humans are not the strongest because of our strength alone. We survive because we think, we adapt, and we work together. You will see why." The aliens exchanged nervous glances. Some still felt wary, remembering old stories of human brutality. Others, who had participated in the energy challenge, were eager to see what humans would ask next. Slowly, they moved toward the stations set up for the new exercises. Mara walked to a group of 3 aliens. "Remember," she said softly, "every idea matters, every thought counts. Humans survive by trusting in intelligence, not fear. That is how we build, how we solve, how we grow." The aliens began to understand slowly. Even the skeptical ones could not ignore the calm patience of the humans. There was no threat here, only guidance. The atmosphere of the chamber shifted. Where there had once been trembling, now there was quiet focus. Where there had been whispers of doubt, now there were discussions of strategy. The humans introduced a new exercise involving interspecies collaboration. Aliens of different types were paired to solve a complex problem, redirecting energy between sections of the station to simulate a real emergency scenario. The task required careful planning, communication, and creativity. At first, the aliens struggled. Each species had its own way of thinking, and none had ever worked with others in this way. One alien tried to dominate, barking instructions in its harsh native language. Another froze, unsure how to respond. Mara stepped forward gently. Listen to each other. Every voice matters. Work together. Humans survive because we value collaboration. Slowly, they began to cooperate. Tentacles moved in unison, claws tapped on control panels, eyes scanned holographic displays. The aliens shared ideas, corrected mistakes, and began to see the value in listening to one another. The humans guided subtly, offering suggestions without taking over. The chamber buzzed with quiet energy, a symphony of learning and understanding. Eli noticed a shift in the aliens' behavior. The skeptical, resistant ones were starting to question their assumptions about humans. One small alien, green and round with stubby limbs, whispered to its companion, "I thought humans were cruel, but they guide us without force. They trust us." "Yes," the companion replied softly. "It is strange, but it works." The exercise continued for hours. Mistakes were made, and systems blinked red occasionally, but every failure became a lesson. Humans encouraged problem-solving, teaching the aliens to adapt and try new approaches. Slowly, the aliens realized that humans valued intelligence and effort more than obedience or fear. By midday, the aliens had completed the task successfully. Energy flows stabilized, systems were optimized, and communication between species improved. The chamber erupted in quiet celebration. Aliens looked at each other with newfound respect and curiosity. Even those who had doubted humans now nodded subtly, acknowledging the patience and ingenuity that guided them. Eli spoke to the group. "You see what humans can do when we trust intelligence, creativity, and cooperation. Strength alone is not enough. Wisdom, adaptability, and respect for life are what make a species endure. This is how humans survive." The aliens murmured among themselves. Some whispered of disbelief, others of awe. Their centuries of fear and misunderstanding were crumbling. Humans were not just survivors, they were thinkers, teachers, and leaders. They had expected cruelty but found guidance. They had expected punishment but found respect. As the day progressed, the humans introduced exercises that allowed the aliens to share their own knowledge. One alien demonstrated a method of storing energy more efficiently. Another suggested a communication technique that humans incorporated into the station systems. The chamber became a place of learning in both directions, with humans teaching, observing, and also learning from the aliens. Eli and Mara observed quietly. "They are beginning to understand," Mara said. "Not just the exercises, but humans themselves." "That is the most important lesson." "Yes," Eli agreed. "Once they see what humans value, once they see how humans think and act, they will carry that understanding with them. It will change how they view the galaxy and us." During a quiet moment, a group of aliens gathered in the corner, whispering. "Humans are different from what we expected," one said. "They are clever, yes, but also patient. They do not need fear to lead." Another nodded. "I thought we would be punished or controlled, but they let us think. They trust us. They inspire us." The smallest alien in the group, with shimmering blue skin, tilted its head. "I have never seen anything like it. They could dominate if they wanted, but they do not. They guide, they teach, they respect life." Eli approached quietly. "You are noticing the truth," he said. "Humans survive not because we strike fear, but because we understand, adapt, and work together. That is the power you did not expect." The aliens continued their exercises late into the day. Their confidence grew. Their fear diminished. They asked questions, made suggestions, and even corrected small mistakes. Mara encouraged every effort, reinforcing the idea that intelligence and effort mattered more than status or strength. By evening, the chamber had transformed. What had begun as a place of fear and suspicion had become a space of collaboration and learning. Aliens who had once refused to participate were now engaged, curious, and even enthusiastic. They began to see humans as something beyond their stories, a species that could inspire without dominating, guide without punishing, and lead without cruelty. Eli and Mara walked through the chamber, observing quietly. "They are beginning to respect humans," Mara said. "Yes," Eli replied. "But more than respect, they are beginning to understand. That is the most powerful thing. Once a species understands humans, it cannot underestimate them again." The aliens rested that night with minds full of new thoughts. They thought about humans not as predators, not as oppressors, but as something different, something inspiring. They realized that humans valued intelligence, patience, and cooperation above all else. Humans did not need fear to survive. They thrived because they could think, adapt, and teach. Even the most skeptical aliens admitted quietly to themselves that they had judged humans too quickly. Stories from their ancestors had painted humans as monsters, as conquerors, as unpredictable threats. But now, having worked with them, having faced challenges guided by humans, they understood a new truth. Humans were clever, resilient, and wise in ways that the galaxy had never fully appreciated. In the quiet of the observation deck, Mara looked at Eli. "They are changing faster than I expected," Eli nodded. "They are not just learning about the systems, they are learning about humans, and that understanding will stay with them. That is the beginning of something greater." Outside, the stars stretched endlessly. The prison station floated silently, a place that had once been meant for punishment and fear. Now it was a place of learning, understanding, and quiet admiration. The aliens slept with new thoughts, new questions, and a sense of awe they had never known. By the end of this day, the aliens understood something extraordinary. Humans were not just strong, they were inspiring. They did not lead through fear. They did not punish unnecessarily. They guided, taught, and trusted. And in doing so, they reshaped the aliens' understanding of the galaxy, of life, and of what it meant to survive. For the first time in generations, the alien prisoners felt not terror, not suspicion, but a strange, powerful hope. They wondered quietly what humans might do next, and whether they themselves could rise to meet the unexpected expectations of a species they had long underestimated. And humans walked among them, calm, patient, and watchful, planting seeds of understanding and cooperation that would change everything. In the quiet hum of the station, aliens began to see what humans had always known. Strength without guidance is nothing, and understanding without fear is everything. The next morning, the chamber was alive with anticipation. The alien prisoners had spent several days learning from humans, completing exercises, and experiencing guidance rather than punishment. Fear had given way to curiosity, and curiosity had begun to turn into respect. Today, Eli Sanders and Mara Linton had prepared a final task, one that would demonstrate not only humans' ingenuity, but also the value of collaboration and trust. The aliens gathered in the central chamber, eyes flicking nervously between the humans and the holographic displays that filled the room. This task was different. It was not about fixing a machine, repairing systems, or completing a controlled exercise. Instead, it was a real simulation of a critical interstellar problem, one that tested leadership, planning, and adaptation on a scale the aliens had never experienced. Eli stepped forward, his calm voice cutting through the murmurs. "Today, we will face a challenge that requires every skill you have learned. It will test strategy, communication, and problem-solving. But more than that, it will show you why humans are not what the galaxy has always assumed. Watch closely, learn quickly, and trust yourselves." Mara added softly, "You are not alone. Work together, listen to each other, and use what you have learned. Humans do not rule by fear. We survive by thinking, by adapting, and by trusting. That is what you will see today." The aliens exchanged glances. Some were eager, others hesitant, but all were aware that this was a test unlike any they had faced before. The holographic displays shifted, showing a complex star system with planets, moons, and stations connected by energy networks. A simulated disaster loomed. An unstable star threatened to disrupt nearby colonies, and only careful coordination could prevent a catastrophic chain reaction. At first, the aliens froze. They had never been trusted with something so important. They had always expected humans to dominate or punish. Now they were being asked to lead, to think, and to act under guidance. A tall, armored alien spoke up, its voice trembling. "If we fail, what will happen?" Eli's expression was calm. "If you fail in this simulation, nothing will happen to you physically. But if you succeed, you will see what humans value: intelligence, cooperation, and wisdom. The point is not perfection. The point is learning, adapting, and solving together. Mara stepped forward, showing them how to access controls and communicate across species. Every idea counts, every thought matters, even mistakes are valuable because they teach us new ways to think. Slowly, the aliens began to act. Tentacles, claws, and limbs moved over panels. Eyes scanned displays. Whispers of instruction and suggestion filled the chamber. At first, the coordination was clumsy. Some aliens tried to dominate, others froze under pressure. But humans guided them with patience, not force. Eli gave gentle corrections. Mara offered small hints. The aliens started to cooperate, sharing ideas across species lines. A small yellow-skinned alien suggested rerouting energy to stabilize the network. A silver-antennaed alien proposed a faster communication link. Humans integrated the suggestions, asking questions to refine the solutions. The chamber buzzed with quiet excitement as the aliens began to see the power of collaboration. Hours passed, and the simulation grew more complex. Unexpected problems appeared. Energy lines fluctuated, systems blinked red, and some sections of the star system seemed on the brink of collapse. Fear flickered briefly in the aliens' minds, but it was different from before. This fear was not of punishment, it was fear of failure, of not living up to the trust humans had placed in them. Eli spoke calmly, guiding them through each challenge. Think carefully, communicate, use what you know. Humans survive because we trust intelligence over instinct, patience over rage, and planning over chaos. You can do the same. The aliens began to adapt. They coordinated rapidly, anticipating problems, sharing observations, and making decisions as a group. Every species contributed something unique: speed, precision, intuition, or creativity. The humans observed, allowing the aliens to take ownership while still offering guidance when necessary. By late afternoon, the simulation neared completion. The alien teams had learned to trust themselves and each other. Red warnings on the displays turned green. Energy flows stabilized. Communication links held. Systems aligned perfectly, preventing the simulated disaster from escalating. The aliens stared at the final display in awe. They had accomplished something impossible in their minds, something they could never have done alone. Humans had guided them, yes, but humans had not done it for them. The aliens had acted, learned, and succeeded on their own with subtle support. Eli smiled at the group. You see, humans survive not because of brute strength, not because of fear. We survive because we think, we adapt, and we trust intelligence. And that is why you succeeded. You trusted yourselves just as we trusted you. Mara added softly. This is what humans value: cooperation, creativity, and the courage to try even when the outcome is uncertain. Strength alone is nothing. Wisdom is everything. The aliens whispered among themselves. A tall armored one spoke first. I never imagined humans were like this. We thought you would punish us, force us, dominate us, but you guided us, you trusted us. Yes, said a blue-skinned alien with delicate wings. We learned more from this than from any punishment or control. Humans inspire. The chamber was quiet for a moment, filled only with the low hum of the station. Then, slowly, the aliens began to clap, not loudly, not boisterously, but in their own ways. Tentacles tapped, claws clicked, wings flapped softly. It was a celebration of understanding, not victory over another. Humans smiled, joining in without taking credit. Eli looked at Mara. They finally understand, not just our methods, but our philosophy. That is the most important lesson. Yes, Mara replied. Once they see humans as teachers and guides, they cannot underestimate us again. That is power in its purest form. The aliens gathered in small groups, discussing what they had learned. We expected monsters, whispered one. We found patience, we expected cruelty. We found guidance, we expected fear. We found trust. Another added, humans do not just survive, humans inspire. They teach, guide, and show respect. That is what makes them strong. The realization spread through the chamber like a quiet wave. Fear had been replaced by respect, curiosity by admiration, and hesitation by a desire to learn more. The aliens who had resisted at first now approached the humans, asking questions, offering suggestions, and sharing knowledge. Eli and Mara moved among them, observing quietly. This is what I hoped for, Mara said. Eli nodded. Not obedience, not fear, understanding. That is what humans bring to the galaxy, and now these aliens will carry that lesson wherever they go. As night fell on the station, the aliens rested with minds full of wonder. They reflected on the past days, on the humans' calm guidance, patience, and intelligence. They realized that they had underestimated humans for centuries. They had believed humans were violent, unpredictable, and dangerous. Now they understood a new truth. Humans were clever, resourceful, and wise. They survived not by fear, but by guiding, teaching, and inspiring. Some of the aliens whispered quietly among themselves. "I never thought humans could be like this," said one. "I thought we were preparing to die. Instead, we have learned, we have grown. Humans are extraordinary." "Yes," replied another, "and we will never forget this. The galaxy has underestimated humans for too long, but not anymore." Eli and Mara watched from the observation deck as the aliens rested. "They finally see the truth," Mara said softly. "Yes," Eli agreed. "Humans are underestimated because the galaxy judges us by the wrong measures. Strength without guidance is nothing. Fear alone is useless. But intelligence, patience, cooperation, those are our greatest strengths. And now these aliens know it too." The stars stretched endlessly beyond the windows. The prison station, once a place of fear and punishment, had become a place of understanding and respect. The aliens would never view humans the same way again. They had witnessed patience, cleverness, and guidance in action. They had learned that humans could inspire without dominating, teach without punishing, and lead without fear. By the next day, the aliens were eager to participate in new exercises, not because they were forced, but because they wanted to. They had discovered the value of trust, cooperation, and intelligence. Humans had shown them a different path, one that encouraged growth rather than submission. Eli and Mara walked quietly through the chamber, observing the aliens interacting, sharing ideas, and collaborating. Every gesture, every question, every small success was a testament to what humans could inspire. For the first time, the aliens whispered not of fear, not of punishment, but of admiration and wonder. Humans had shown them a different way, a better way. And in doing so, humans had proven something powerful. Even a species underestimated across the galaxy could inspire respect without violence, could lead without fear, and could change minds through intelligence, patience, and guidance. And in the quiet hum of the station, aliens began to look at humans differently. They would never forget the lessons learned here. They would never underestimate the species that had guided them through fear and challenge with nothing but calm confidence and intelligence. The galaxy would eventually hear new stories about humans, not as monsters, not as conquerors, but as a species that survived because they inspired, taught, and led through understanding. And the alien prisoners, once bracing for punishment, now realized something extraordinary. Humans were more powerful, clever, and wise than they had ever imagined, and the galaxy would never see them in the same way again. Eli and Mara walked through the chamber one last time, smiling quietly at the alien faces full of awe and curiosity. The humans had not punished, had not coerced, had not dominated. They had guided, taught, and inspired. And in doing so, they had changed not only the aliens' minds, but perhaps the course of the galaxy itself. The stars outside shone silently, endless and vast. Inside, in that chamber, a quiet revolution had taken place, not of violence or fear, but of understanding. Humans had revealed their greatest power, the ability to inspire, to teach, and to change perceptions. And the aliens, once bracing for punishment, now looked at humans with awe, admiration, and respect.